All right, good evening, everybody. This is David Glenn with the National Weather Service in Newport. Just want to remind everybody to please mute your phones. I'm going to go over what's going on down here in our area, MHX, and then we'll have Larry Brown from the Wakefield office talk about the counties north of the Albemarle Sound. So what I want to show you first is a radar loop of what's going on right now in the community. What you see outlined in green are flash flood warnings. You can see they extend into Raleigh's area up into Wake County. And then I want you to look at what you see popping up here in red. That's a tornado warning. And we've been through several so far this evening, and they're going to continue, several today, starting all the way with this morning down in Wilmington's area and expanding north through time. But these are going to occur through the evening and overnight hours, so please have multiple ways to receive warnings. The donut you see down here off of Cape Fear, that's the center of Dorian, down there roughly 30-40 miles now south of Brunswick County, the Wilmington area. So I'm only going to go over 3 or 4 slides here, just the ones that are the heavy hitters, ones that are the most impactful. There's the cone graphic. You can see that it pretty much takes it from Cape Fear to Cape Lookout to Cape Hatteras. A wiggle left or right here or there is still possible, so it could still just graze the coast, and it still could go more inland over the Pamlico Sound and through the Outer Banks. So remains to be seen exactly where it's going to go, but what we have in the forecast now is something we're pretty confident in, and that's life-threatening storm surge, life-threatening heavy rain, and life-threatening strong winds across our area. As I mentioned, make sure you have multiple ways to receive warnings, especially later tonight for those of us that are going to lose power closer to the coast. Lose power, and you need to have a battery backup, some way to receive warnings when we do issue them. And then throughout this event, please remember, do not travel through water-covered roads. I'm going to stop here on this one for a minute and talk about storm surge flooding. This is the same message that we had earlier today. 4 to 7 feet above ground for coastal sections from Surf City north to the, I think it's now to the Virginia border, 4 to 7 feet above ground. I want you to remember that that does not count wave action. That's 4 to 7 feet above ground that's normally dry adjacent to the water. So 4 to 7 feet above ground, add wave action on top of that. Now for the sounds, the Pamlico Sound, including the Pamlico River, Pungo River, and the Neuse River, those areas are expected to see 4 to 7 feet above ground. And then as we head a little bit farther north, 4 to 6 feet above ground for the Albemarle Sound and the Alligator River. One of the things I want you to visualize this, you see where the storm is. I've already talked about where it's going to track, either right along the coast or even through the Pamlico Sound. What's going to happen? And in your mind, I want you to think of a water in a bathtub. When the storm approaches from the south and it gets closer, the winds are going to push all that water from the eastern half of the sound up into the rivers. Okay, and then when the storm travels through and north of the area, the winds are going to switch direction to come out of the northwest, and it's going to take that water that was shoved to the west and bring it all to the east. When that process occurs, we're expecting the water level rises to be rapid, especially on the sound side portions of the Outer Banks. So please keep that in mind. If the water goes out and you're out there, let me back up and say I hope that if you're on the sound side of the Outer Banks that you evacuated it. There's nobody here on this call that's out there, but I want you to be aware that if you do see water go and actually leave the area, that doesn't mean it's time to go out and explore, because the water can come back very quickly. Storm surge inundation will expand north to the sounds and the rivers this evening and overnight as the storm passes through. And the worst conditions for the Outer Banks are expected on Friday once that wind shifts around to the northwest and pushes the water from the western part of the Pamlico Sound back to the east. Continuing the water theme here, flash flooding. I already showed you some of the flash flood warnings that we have right now. We have a flash flood watch in effect through Friday evening. Our rain amounts really haven't changed. 6 to 12 inches, locally upwards of 15 inches, depending on where some of these rain bands set up as the hurricane moves through eastern North Carolina. We're thinking most of our main stem rivers are minor to moderate flood levels, and the flash flood risk is highest late tonight through Friday, mainly because of the high rates of rain. So rainfall rates of 2 inches per hour at times will be possible. And then I'm going to end here on the tornado threat. We've already had several tornadoes in eastern North Carolina today, and I just really want to hammer this point home. Make sure you get the word out to your colleagues, your coworkers, your families, your constituents in the community about having multiple ways to receive warnings if we do have to issue them for your area this evening.